I'm joined now by Riccardo Fabiani, is the North Africa Project Director at the International Crisis Group. Riccardo, thanks so much for coming onto the program. Now, the US may now have recognized Morocco's claim to Western Sahara, but the African Union, the UN and the International Court of Justice don't really seem to share those views. What does the US's recognition now mean for those living in Western Sahara?
Well, it's obviously a political recognition. We're not talking about a decision that has any legal value, at least so far. But it's a very important, I would say, political and diplomatic signal that the US is sending, that effectively they are now openly leaning in favor of the Moroccan position in this conflict. And obviously, this goes against what the UN and the African Union and other legal internet and other international bodies and organizations have said for several decades. But most importantly, it's likely to convince many thousands of Sahrawis, both in the refugee camps and in Morocco-controlled Western Sahara, that there is no diplomatic solution to this conflict and that the only solution is through violence. Now, obviously, what this means exactly remains to be seen.
Well, do you expect to see a more aggressive armed conflict now between the Sahrawi and Morocco, especially young Sahrawi people?
Look, I would say that the risk of an escalation remains limited simply because there are some military capabilities gap between the Moroccans and the Polisario Front that are very hard to fill for the Sahrawis at this stage. And most importantly, there is very little appetite for an escalation by a country like Algeria, for example, that is a key supporter of the Polisario Front. Now, having said that, there are still some scenarios, some possibilities for an escalation that should not be completely underestimated. There is still a possibility that this conflict will heat up between the Moroccans and the Polisario Front. There is the possibility of violence inside Western Sahara. There are many, I would say, scenarios that still are not very likely, but that could lead to a military escalation or, in any case, more violence between Morocco and the Sahrawis.
And Riccardo, why has Western Sahara for so long now been so important to Morocco?
It's about nationalism. It's about their claims of sovereignty over this territory. It's literally, I would say, about the idea of a greater Morocco, which has obviously been particularly powerful for a long time inside Morocco. Some people claim that obviously natural resources play a role in this, but I would probably say that they are not necessarily the main driver in all of this. I would say that really the main reason here is about the nationalism and the idea that this territory actually rightfully belongs to Morocco. And it's also about the stability of the monarchy, which sees obviously its legitimacy tightly linked, tightly tied to this, to the control of this territory.
Riccardo Fabiani, really appreciate your analysis live to us there from Lisbon.